Good afternoon, everybody. I have the CEO of the Partnership Alliance sitting across from me. She says she hasn't had lunch, and we're going to try to prop her up here. We'll be bringing little treats in as we take our breaks here today. Heather, would that be good?
Yeah, thanks. I like treats.
So does Gracie.
Just as long as I don't have to eat Gracie's treats, I'll be good.
Okay. Well, we have Heather Simmons Jones with us here today. How you been doing, Heather?
I've been well, but very busy.
Well, you know, I would think that would be what the partnership would want.
Absolutely. We wouldn't have it any other way. If we're busy, that means things are happening and good news is on the way.
You know, I think this morning, of course, headlines in the Index Journal, partnership makes a promise. That's a pretty big deal.
It's a very big deal. And you know, it's kind of hard not to get emotional about the Greenwood Promise. And when you talk about looking into a child's eyes and saying, we promise you have a future, we promise that you can go to college and have an opportunity that maybe your mom and dad or grandparents didn't have, that's pretty impactful. And I mean, I can't imagine that everyone won't be just so excited to get behind what we're doing.
Sure. And of course, we know that that there will be a certain group that will not take advantage of that. Correct. I mean, there will be kids that will be going on to 4-year colleges or going outside the area. But for kids that didn't have that opportunity, that makes a huge difference.
Well, it does make a huge difference, but it is open to every graduate in Greenwood County. So
but it is to go to to Piedmont Tech.
Right. So the general concept is that it pays gap funding, last dollars, for the first 2 years. They have to be enrolled in an associate degree program. Based on the successfulness of our campaign, which is in a quiet phase, I'm really not supposed to be talking. It's the best kept secret we have right now. But based on the successfulness of that campaign, we will have the opportunity to also give 4-year opportunities to a select number of students based on their willingness to go into one of the industry sector needs. So whatever our existing industry tells us that they're having difficulty in filling, those particular needs will then have some 4-year degrees associated with them.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I don't want to slice it and dice it and say it's just 2 years.
Right.
Equally, we would love for them to go to either Lander or Piedmont Tech, because certainly that benefits all of us for them to keep that money locally. But if there is a degree program or an associate's degree program that isn't found within Greenwood County, then we will work with them to find another solution.
Okay. All right. But is it not basically industry based?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I think that's the important thing, is that we are meeting with our existing industries. We've done surveys with them over the past year. We're in face-to-face discussions with them right now. We've recently started an industry council. And the thing that we hear in each of those different settings and mediums is that we have a need for a qualified, trained workforce, and there are positions that we have difficulty in filling. And so we think the Greenwood Promise is a way for us to get more students into a program that would then benefit the industry, work with them during their time in school to have apprenticeships and other things so that they want to come back to Greenwood. There's an opportunity for them here, and they have that connectivity from the very first day with some of the companies locally.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, industry is speaking to us. We have to find a solution. This is one of the solutions. And on the 4-year side, that industry council is going to be that group saying, it's working. So maybe we don't need this particular sector anymore. This might be a higher demanded position. And so, we're really looking to industry to tell us how it evolves and shapes in terms of those particular programs.
Sure. One of the things that's been kind of a hot topic is not necessarily in our area, but the fact that but the fact that students that come from overseas and go to school here, in fact, there's a bill in front of the Senate right now that they're discussing, and one of the things that they talk about is a lot of industries want to, particularly in the STEM field now, you know, science and technology, is they're wanting to be able to hire these students that have come over on visas because they can hire them cheaper. You know, that's one of the things that really bothers me, because here we have an American workforce.
Right.
We want to put that American workforce to work first, I think it's great that we have people coming in to our universities, not only in South Carolina, but across our country.
Sure.
So how do we address that? By making sure that we have our Greenwood residents getting those jobs.
Well, I mean, you know, first and foremost, you have to have folks that are eligible and qualified to fill those positions.
Mm-hmm.
That's the systemic situation we're faced with. And that is not a Greenwood-specific epidemic. That is a national epidemic, which is why that particular bill is in front of the delegation. So, you know, first and foremost, our responsibility is to make certain that people are qualified to fill. Qualified can mean a lot of different things.
Okay.
And that, you know, that kind of goes with, you have a technical qualification, but you also have a soft skills qualification as well. And so what we are hearing is it's one thing to address just the educational attainment from a technical standpoint, but we also have to create a culture where people understand what a strong value and work ethic consists of. And there are some other programs kind of in the works that are going to address more of the soft skill side. But
do you think we have an issue with soft skills here in Greenwood?
I think it's another national epidemic. I think we're, you know, your culture as a whole in the workforce has changed. We have gone from a face-to-face communication to an electronic communication. We've gone from a manufacturing based workforce to going towards more of a technology-based workforce. Just those changes, generation baby boomer to generation X, Y, and Z, all millennials, all of that is a complete different dynamic that in essence has changed the level of soft skills that individuals have on a day-to-day basis. And it's very generational and it's very transitional as it goes from decade to decade. And so I think not just to Greenwood, but all over there's a soft skills issue.
What is the soft skills that they're looking for, Heather? Are they looking for people that can communicate more face-to-face, or are we looking for more technology-based communication?
I think that it's less about, it's even more basic than that sometimes. It's truly, this is your work schedule, this is when you need to be here, you know, these are general operating guidelines, you need to come drug-free, you need to be on time, you need to be here every day, you need to work the hardest you can.
Oh, come on, work is great, but do you have to go every day, Heather?
Well, you know. Even on Saturdays sometimes, folks.
That's right.
Right. So, and you know, I'm certainly not putting our community down. Again, it's a national issue, but we just have to address it younger and earlier so that some of those habits are not already ingrained and entrenched in such a way that by the time we get to freshmen in college and graduates from college, that there is harder to change.
Sure.
And I know Piedmont Tech is working on a cultural shift right now within their own organization to really work on that soft skills side on campus in hopes that that can create a culture there that will, you know, grow and mushroom into a program that could be used in other institutions and organizations around the county.
Sure. Now, you know, you're talking about something you have to maintain, I believe it's a 2.5 average your last 3 years of school, is that right?
Well, so you have to maintain...
In high school?
Well, we say, we kind of say 2.5 because everyone wants to put some sort of stake in the ground.
Right.
The truth to the matter is you must be accepted to an accredited college or university.
Okay.
That differs.
Okay.
from college to university.
Correct.
But I can't find many that would admit you with under a 2.5. So you don't want to scare people off and say, you have to have a 3.0 or a 3.5, because then conversely, we're doing, negativity towards the program from the very beginning.
Sure.
So really what I think people should hear is, if you can get accepted to that accredited college or university, then the Promise program will apply.
Okay. All right. So you can apply. Well, I have another question, but I think we're going to hear a word from our sponsors and we'll be back. One of the things I want you to be thinking about, Heather, is what do we do about that education, though, from kindergarten through high school to get our kids ready to go to college, to get good students? As you're looking at bringing people into manufacturing and all these businesses that you're talking about, how does our school system right here in Greenwood County max out against other counties across the state? Hey, we'll be right back. Don't you go away. Well, that's right. How you doing this afternoon? Hey, I'm Ann Eller here with Heather Simmons Jones. We're talking about the partnership. We're talking about the future of Greenwood and how we're going to have a ready workforce. One of the questions I was asking before we went to the break to Heather is how our school system, it's great that once you get to the point where you would be graduating from high school, but how do we make sure that our students are progressing through the school systems to an educational level where they can feel good about things? I mean, in the past, maybe not so much now, but we've heard about kids just being passed and moved along. That may not be the case now, but how do we make sure that we are adapting our school systems within the county to be the best?
And any question you ask today, I think, can be answered with the word communication. And we are, as I talked about the industry council, we're talking to the industry about the need. In those same conversations, we have the school superintendents, we have the director of the Career and Technology Center, and they're hearing what the industry is saying the need is. Those superintendents and directors are very willing and open-minded to teaching classes that will support the intrinsic, basic skill sets that will build a student along an individual development plan to get them ready for the career in that next part of their life. You said prior versus now. When we're interacting with companies, we talk about the magnet programs. We talk about School of Inquiry, and we talk about the Career and Technology Center, and we talk about the great things that are going on in all of our school districts here. And I think no one community is perfect.
That's true.
But I always tell folks, how you address your problems and work together towards solutions is what makes you unique.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's really the unique thing we're experiencing right now, is industry is getting together and talking with the schools, with Piedmont Tech and Lander and others, and collectively we're saying this isn't a 18-year-old student problem. It's not a 2-year technical student problem. It's from the day essentially that they can speak and communicate. And we're trying to address that literally from that particular point. And it's going to just continue to take communication. What are the needs? How do we teach to that?
Sure.
Instead of saying, broad brush, everyone needs English 101 and English 102.
Sure.
And, well, everyone does need basic
communication,
right.
yes.
We get that. But what are they passionate about? If you're passionate about tinkering and using your hands, then let us talk to you about STEM, and let us build an individual development plan for you and introduce you. Here's a big piece. Let us introduce you at a younger age to what that looks like so that you stay excited about it. And I think, to really answer your question, that communication of all those people with the same end goal of educating the youth here and providing opportunity and meeting the needs of industry, when everyone agrees that that three-pronged goal is the goal, it's a lot easier to get there than it is when you're talking about, well, my district wants to do this and my district wants to do that, and you know, Piedmont Tech does this, and that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing a unified and cohesive voice around getting to the goal.
Well, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. And, you know, but I think sometimes when you're looking at this package as it's being put together, I don't think a lot of people understand that.
I don't disagree, because I don't know that it's always been a unified,
discussed.
cohesive
Sure.
voice, and I don't know that we've all gotten in the room and looked at each other that often and said, okay, yeah, what are you thinking? Well, what are you thinking? Well, how can you help me? And how do you address that?
Sure.
But that's what we're seeing in kind of all avenues of this big discussion
Sure.
about workforce.
And
It is
it's-
super awesome.
It is super awesome. Now, just out of curiosity, the partnership is making the promise. Okay, how are other areas? I mean, how did the promise come about? Because are there other areas that are addressing similar type things, or is this unique? How has this come about?
So, Kalamazoo, Michigan is one of the, I guess, is the original promise, and that's kind of sparked out of some anonymous, still to this day, business folks pulling their monies together, a lot bigger amount of money than we would anticipate, and the goal was very similar, but theirs was a private model.
Okay.
But the goal very similar, to educate youth, instill hope, get educational attainment, and fill vacancies in a community that's so desperately needed at that time, to have that connectivity with a workforce and new industries and expanding
Sure.
jobs. El Dorado, was that Arizona or Arkansas? It just slipped my mind. Has a program. So there's some national models out there. There are about 60 programs across the nation
Mm-hmm.
that currently have a promise. Each model has a tweak off
Sure.
of the other one, so it's always going to be different. We can't find an actual parallel per se in our general area. There are some regional communities that have given it a shot in either one way or another,
Mm-hmm.
but the promises we're presenting, it seems to be a unique opportunity for South Carolina.
Wow. So again, ahead of the curve, Heather.
Gosh, we gotta be. I mean, again, it's how you solve a solution. People know we're not going to move the needle overnight, and I don't think anyone anticipates that. But if you can show someone that you have a plan in place to address something over a 5-year period or over a 10-year period, and all the other communities they're talking to are resting on their laurels and just saying, you know, the sky's falling, but it's falling for everyone. So, you know, that doesn't really harm us. And they come here and we say, well, let us tell you what we're doing to address it. We are ahead of the curve.
Sure.
And we should
And
be
that's
very
a good
proud
thing.
of that.
Sure. That's right. In fact, if I remember correctly, weren't you one of the first 5 to get work certified, Greenwood County?
Well, we were one of the first in the nation and in the state to get the connected certification. And then from a Work Ready standpoint, our region was the first COG region in the state to holistically get Work Ready certified.
Yeah. So that's pretty awesome right there. Hey, I am here with Heather Simmons Jones. If you want to give us a call, 229-7984. That's 229-7984. We are coming up on South Carolina Radio News, and we'll be right back.
Arg, are you a pirate or a pack rat? Do you have a vacation of a lifetime sitting in the attic? Or a college tuition hung on a wall? Or is a fabulous retirement hidden in your jewelry box? Bring those items to Sharp Facets Gallery. We can establish value and buy from you or sell for you. And so ends another chapter at Sharp Facets Gallery, 72 Bypass, and on the web, sharpfacets.com.
Oh, that's right. We're right back here, Sharp Facets Gallery. I am here with Heather Simmons Jones. She just told me she goes bouncing off the walls some days and so excited about all the things going on in Greenwood. Heather, though, what is the, we've talked about the promise. I want to move on to how we get industry in here. I think before we actually started, you said you have oodles of business, different manufacturing facilities and businesses looking at coming into our area right now. What is it going to take? What are some of the things that you're missing or that you need to make this come together? And why, two questions, why are so many people looking at Greenwood right now?
Well, I think we've talked about workforce, and we're addressing that piece. The second piece that comes up, and probably as much as workforce, if not in some cases more, is the product side. So, do we have the building? Do we have the site that meets the qualifications and needs of the particular company? So we've been really laser focused over the past year in trying to identify new tracts of land in the county that would be suitable for industrial development, and working with those landowners to gain a letter of control, to set a price point, to really talk about what those terms look like, so that we have something concrete to market to prospective industry. So that's one thing we're really trying to do to close the gap, as we'll say, on all of these project opportunities. The county, obviously, as a partner, committing to the new industrial park has been a huge step, and I don't take lightly the fact that they made that decision. It's extremely important, it's extremely visionary, and it gives us some flexibility with a, almost like a twin sister to work with on negotiating and bringing those projects to town. The piece, though, that we're still, I think, struggling with is figuring out the building side. We've been talking about it for 18 months since I've been here, and certainly they've been talking about it prior to my arrival, and that's really the need for better buildings with higher ceilings that are more suitable for.
I mean, we basically used up most every piece that we have.
Most. I mean, we still have some. We have Titan Wheel and Carolina Coatings and NSO Resins and Ware Shoals Industrial, and there's a scattering of buildings, but the real inhibitor on most of them is either their age and how they've been maintained, or their ceiling height. And we are literally every year, it seems like we add 2 or 4 feet to the clear height of ceiling that a company's looking for.
So what do we need in today's world, Heather?
Literally like 34 to 36.
So you might as well build 40 and be prepared.
Yeah, and there's kind of a breaking point when talking to my builder and contractor investors that you get to where you might as well go to that point, because the price point's really about the same,
right.
And then you start to enter into that next 10 feet or whatever that really makes that price go up. So, or probably you wouldn't want to be under 30 feet in ceiling right now, and you certainly would want to go as high as you could for the money. And if that's 34 or 36, you wouldn't be going wrong. So.
Well, what are you finding? Are you finding people that are willing to invest in buildings?
Well, there's kind of 2 conversations that we're having. One is the completely speculative, build it on the, again, we'll use the word promise, on the hope that one of these 30 plus companies that's looking here will want it, or one of the ones in the future will want it. And we know that the county right now is not necessarily looking at that immediately. We're going to continue those conversations with them, and hopefully that will be something that we can bring to fruition. In the interim, we are talking to private developers to really educate them about the opportunity, about our success, about the number of prospects that are looking, what that looks like, what the demand is, so that we can build the business case for them on being our partner and investing locally in a spec building. So that's kind of the one avenue. The other is a lot of the industry we're talking to right now need a leased building. They need to lease. And so we're working with our investor partners to do a build to suit to industry spec and then lease it back to a potential business. A little less risk because there is an end tenant usually ready to sign something, but at the same time, that's a line of credit that they're tying up for however long, and sometimes the industry may never want to buy it. So, there's the private for sale side, and then there's the private lease side, and we're in need of all of it.
Well, do you feel that there's enough, I'll say, interest on the private side to commit to some of this, whether it's the leasing end or the building to sell end?
I think that we're still helping to educate and build the business case for the purely speculative side. We definitely are making strides. I think the county's sincerity in moving forward to purchase property gives a lot of those private developers a sense of comfort, knowing that if the county's going to put their money in something, there's probably a pretty good chance that the economy is such that would support a spec building as well. I mean, you just don't see all the time counties doing something like that. So again, I have to really thank our council for that vision. Certainly on the build to suit and leaseback side, we have had a great response from our investor partners that have put together some packages and have been able to either partner with a developer to amortize and put together a lease, or have an internal mechanism by which they can do that. So I think we're moving at a good pace on figuring out that lease side. Now we just have to continue to finish the business case for the private side on the purely speculative piece.
One of the things that has come up in conversations that I've had is, what's wrong with some of the old mills that we have? What's wrong with some of these other buildings? I mean, what should we do with those other buildings? We took down the one mill in uptown Greenwood there, but are they so outdated that these buildings don't have a purpose anymore?
Well, there's a couple of examples of mills that are being repurposed and reused. If I'm correct, I think Mumford Industries is in an older mill out towards 96. So, they found a purpose and a usefulness for one of them. Some of them are being used for warehouse space, and, if you don't have to have high racks with really high ceiling height, then that might be okay. What we're seeing, though, is that clean space, new, modern, nice office, the higher ceilings, climate controlled, some of the things that may not still be in working order at the mills tends to not suit that particular type of project. But like I said, there are usefulness in some of the things that we've already seen happen locally with them. So it's really kind of case by case.
Sure. But I think a lot of people have thought that, well, we're not going to use those old buildings. But you're saying is that there may not be a way for them to be used with the newer industry standards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's what we're looking at there. Hey, when we come back, we're going to be talking to Heather about CrossFit. She's working out and getting in good shape and having a good time. And she's also one of the Greenwood Dancing with the Stars. So don't you go away. We'll be right back. Hey, if you do have a question, dare you ask. 229-7984. That's 229-7984. That's right. We're here with Heather Simmons Jones here this afternoon. Heather, there is definitely some growth, not only with what the county is looking with that industrial park, but how about with what the Genetics Center is going to be bringing into our area with that park over there? What's the status on that?
We're super excited, and the Genetics Center and the Clemson Collaborative continues to be one of those initiatives that the partnership will just push as hard as we can to see to fruition. We have been told recently that the Clemson building number 1 will begin, for lack of better terms, I'm going to call it construction. That doesn't necessarily mean there's steel coming out of the ground, but they'll be moving dirt, let's put it that way, next month, and that they anticipate the completion of that building coming around May of 2016. So I think, seeing that new building on campus, really having that presence of a major university, a major research university on the campus, and
the technical people that'll be coming into our area.
Absolutely, the PhDs, the endowed chairs. I mean, we hope to have that endowed chair, the Cell Family endowed chair, sometime by late summer. So that brings credibility to the programs, having the faculty and staff from Clemson, but also, we never want to lose sight of the foundation of the Greenwood Genetics Center and the local folks that have put so much of their own blood, sweat, and tears into making it successful. So it is a balance of staying true to what we've done and done well, while growing and finding new ways to sustain the Genetics Center and new markets and places that we can take it to, not only do what we do well and remain true to the patient, but also to look at the commercialization and look at the future opportunities to fill the park. And I really think that those pieces are all aligning so well that it's gonna make the asset even more attractive to companies and startups and those sorts of things.
One of the things about the Genetics Center is it's one of those hidden gems.
Yes.
And I think for so long it wasn't really promoted as such a good thing, but they have gone to other parts of the country. They have seen people from all over the United States, maybe from all over the world. They have doctors and geneticists that have come from all different parts, and it was such a hidden right here in Greenwood, South Carolina. And in fact, I remember the story of the Chanels. They were in Greenville, and they thought that when they found out they had some genetic issues, they thought that it was going to be sent, I don't know, to Chicago, New York, some other place, and they ended up bringing their genetic sample right back home here to Greenwood and taking it over to the Genetics Center.
I know, it's amazing.
It is.
It's really amazing.
Yes. So I think that is an asset that we definitely need to even play up more.
I could not agree with you more. And so we're working right now with the foundation to try to, we're looking at a strategic plan, which will better enable all the partners to know the direction and the goals and a cohesive vision. And I think that is a great next step. We'll continue to work with Clemson on what they're doing out there, getting the endowed chair on board, really starting to market the research park to some targeted companies through a collaborative approach. I'm thrilled. I think it's only going to be something that we continue to see more and more success with.
Sure. Now, but for people that have been here forever and ever, some of this growth seems kind of like, where are we going here, Heather? What is the ultimate goal for Greenwood?
Whew, that's a tough one.
I know. It's a lofty tale.
It is a lofty tale, and that the answer to that looks different for anyone and everyone that you ask. I think for economic development, it is to increase the average wage, so to continue to better the opportunity from a wage earning standpoint for the residents of Greenwood County.
So that goes back to the Greenwood Promise.
Well, it goes back to the promise, and it also goes back to the fact that we have to look at job recruitment in two different ways. One is intrinsically you want to recruit jobs that pay more.
Correct.
So that you do increase that wage and that per capita income.
Sure.
At the same time, going back to the promise, you have to recruit jobs here that you have a workforce to fill.
Sure.
So it's a very pronged thought process in that regard. So again, it's recruiting jobs that will help people be able to better provide. It's also finding those jobs that are suitable for the workforce that you have.
And don't you think part of the other problem is that we have a huge workforce, huge, I mean, it's, that was displaced by the mills and everything. They have been in a very tough situation.
Right, and those are the people with the great work ethic and the great soft
Exactly.
skills, and so again, that's an opportunity for retraining and tapping some of the state's retraining tax credits and other programs through Ready SC and the technical college system. Is taking those folks that have the people skills and the work ethic and those sorts of things, and then training them to do something new. And that has been a great selling point over the past probably 10 or 15 years for this community, is being able to say, what the mill ethic is. They're loyal, they're hardworking, they're there every morning, they're staying to get the job done. That is a great workforce history.
It is.
That we can build upon and use to retrain and train for new skill sets.
Sure.
And I mean, that's a great point.
Yeah, exactly. But, we've talked about all this other stuff here that is all so, it's a lot to take in, isn't it?
It is. It's, yeah.
It's a lot to take in.
Some days I just kind of sit there and think, you got to be still, but there's not a lot of time in the week to be still because there's so many good things to take on. And I think our team always wants to do more. And as long as it's within the vision and mission of our organization and doesn't mission creep really, we want to say yes and we want to do it. We're getting to a stage, however, where we're probably about to lose the bandwidth to do, additional things. So a lot of good stuff, a lot to take in, a lot of exciting opportunities, and I'm just glad to be part of it.
Sure. Well, I think it was about a year ago we sat down and talked, and here it is a year later, and look at you now.
I don't know if I look a lot different. I'm a year older, thank the Lord.
Yes, and you have been working out at CrossFit, and I understand you're quite competitive when it comes to your CrossFit. You're a whole personality. How are you doing on this? Are you going to compete in anything?
I think anyone that's spent more than about 2 minutes with me knows that I compete on almost everything I do. So fitness is no different, and that is why I was thrilled when Justin Smith decided to open CrossFit at Greenwood, because it is a different type of fitness opportunity than an aerobic workout that you do in a traditional setting. Will I compete? At some point I might. It's only been open since late August, and I took a couple months off during the holidays to be more family oriented, so I didn't feel like I was ready for this round, but I could in the future. It's one of those things where you can work at your own pace at any skill level, beginner or tried and true athlete, and it's a very coached and empowering environment where you're given the skills that you need to be successful, and
God, it sounds like economic development.
And it's competitive, so it's exactly like economic development.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'll give you a promise if you come to CrossFit that you will feel better about your day. How about that?
Okay, well that sounds great. But then you've also taken on Greenwood Dancing with the Stars here. Now, how did you get into that?
That's a good question. Kathy Miller came to see me one day.
Beyond Abuse.
Beyond Abuse, yes. And first, Kathy's so delightful. I can't imagine many people telling Kathy no, especially considering the organization that she represents and the just extremely good mission and purpose that they have. So, certainly having Kathy come and sit down with me played into my decision. Also, having Jim Medford and a few others that had been already involved in the process,
yes,
throwing some names out and about. And I think initially I was chosen to be a judge, and then got wrangled into being a participant. So here we are.
Okay, all right. Well, you are listening to WCRS right here in Greenwood. So who is your partner, pray tell?
Trip Pageant.
Okay.
Attorney. local, as we jokingly had to say for a little video that will introduce us at the event. We had to say where we were from, and I said Greenwood, because right now that's where I'm from.
Right,
you know?
right.
And he looked over at me and goes, "You're not from Greenwood." And I was like, "Oh, I mean, I thought they just meant." He goes, "No, you are not from Greenwood."
Yeah,
So,
Heather, it'll take you a long time to
I
be
know.
from Greenwood.
I know. Well, so all I can say to that is I sell Greenwood like I'm from Greenwood.
Greenwood,
So how about that?
Okay, so what is your part? You're dancing in this. You have a dance that you're doing.
Yes, we were individually. We showed up. We were matched with a partner. We were given a song and a suggested kind of maybe dance style if it wasn't, kind of obvious. And so we are doing a song from Greece, and it's very fun and very, kind of theatrical, for lack of better terms. And I mean, I think, it may not be perfect, but the crowd will have fun laughing with us, I'm sure.
So let's see. Have you been doing any practice? I mean, this is coming up on April 25th, isn't it? I think. Yes.
Yeah. Well, when you have two very busy people that are doing lots of different things, practice tends to get put on the back burner. We did practice for the first time last Wednesday.
Okay.
But we have 90% of our routine, thanks to a very talented Mr. Hewitt. And we'll probably practice once or so a week until we get to the show. So
okay. All right. And of course, the whole purpose of this is
to vote for Heather and Tripp online. Yeah,
See,
that's the whole purpose of this.
Well, no, and to come out for the night and have a great time.
It is, definitely.
Yes.
To support Beyond Abuse and their mission, and, again, just such a fun opportunity while doing something really good for some of the folks that need it the most.
Sure, absolutely. And just to go back to one of the things that we were talking about, I think maybe off the air, is what a giving community Greenwood is and how much is given back. And this is just another example of something being given back to the community, to a group that really needs it.
Absolutely. I mean, that is something we were talking about. You talk about all these tangible things that companies are looking at, and there are so many intangible things that communities aren't necessarily either aware of or not thinking about when it's maybe a decision-making scenario. And something that many people have pointed out to me about Greenwood County is how philanthropic and giving and vested the individuals that are here are, both at the corporate level with our existing industry and business, but also at the individual level. Folks really do care, and they show that with not only their hearts but also with their checkbooks. And it takes both.
Sure.
It takes the volunteer hours and the care, but it takes money to pull off a lot of these programs, and it shows, and it definitely plays well to what we do.
Absolutely. Well, Heather, I plan to be there. I'm supposed to be on the red carpet interviewing people as they come in.
No
and come
way.
Out. Yes, with Mike.
With your red microphone?
Right, with my red microphone, yes, we'll be there just on the red carpet interviewing people. So it's going to be a real E-night entertainment.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see what the trophy looks like.
I know. Maybe they should show you the trophy so you'd be more, more competitive, Heather.
Well, yeah, I'll bring my A game. Don't worry.
You'll bring your A game.
Yeah,
all right.
I will.
Okay. All right. Well, Heather Simmons Jones, I know you're a busy, busy lady, and we sure appreciate you taking the time and sitting down and talking to us.
It's been fun, as always.
All right. That's going to do it for us. This is WCRS right here in Greenwood. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.